Chosen one, Friday is a big day. Please listen. Friday has been carved into the timeline of your destiny. And when something is placed by God's own hand into the days of your life, it's no longer an ordinary day. It becomes the day. The atmosphere is shifting, and your very soul knows it, even if the surface of life hasn't shown it yet. But it will, and soon. Watch this video until the end, because something powerful has been set in motion. And write your warmest wishes in the comments below, and to type the number 777. This is more than participation. It is an energetic agreement, a spiritual echo that tells the universe you are open, ready, and aligned. This is the paragraph where wishes begin to touch reality. This is where energy gathers to transform the invisible into the visible, and the expected into the undeniable. The universe does not respond to silence. It responds to intention. So declare your intention boldly, because something very big is about to land in your life, and it begins this Friday. Now, chosen one, like this video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel, and let's begin. The patterns leading to Friday are not random. Look back for a moment, not with sorrow, but with awareness. Think of the unusual delays, the moments where everything seemed paused. Think of the quiet breakthroughs, the nearly missed signs. Those weren't empty moments. They were the calibration of your soul. You've been moved through a tunnel of preparation, some parts dark, some illuminated, but all of it holy. You've been refined in isolation, set apart from the chaos, so you could hear clearly when your moment was ready. And this Friday, the door doesn't just open. It reveals something that was hidden from the eyes of others. This is about what you were meant to see, what you were destined to touch. You are being allowed into a revelation that was delayed for a reason. Friday brings clarity, and with clarity, movement. There's a reason your timeline didn't match theirs. There's a reason you were left behind when others went ahead. There's a reason you were slowed down when you felt ready to sprint. You were not being punished. You were being timed. God's orchestration doesn't operate on opinion. It functions on divine rhythm. And this Friday, the rhythm changes. The beat picks up. The pulse of purpose increases. What seemed paused will begin to move with force. What seemed quiet will now echo. You will feel it in your bones, a stirring that tells you, this isn't like last time. This isn't a test or a tease. This is the arrival of something promised. And when something is promised by God, it doesn't arrive empty. It arrives with everything it said it would carry. Do not look for evidence in the opinions of others. They were not shown what you were shown. They weren't chosen to see what you've been chosen to carry. This isn't their moment. It's yours. And when God chooses a moment for you, He also shields it from those who would mishandle it. You may have noticed your circle getting smaller, your phone going quiet, your ideas no longer being shared. That's not coincidence. That's coverage. You've been hidden until the day of presentation, and presentation is what Friday brings. This is the unveiling of something that has been in spiritual development for longer than you knew. Even before your prayers formed into words, God had already begun shaping the answer. On this Friday, something you forgot will return to memory. A dream you gave up on will resurface, not just as an idea, but as a viable path. You'll realize that some things weren't delayed. They were maturing. You weren't denied. You were protected. And the ones who doubted you. They were necessary too, because your path needed resistance to be real. God doesn't craft weak destinies. He crafts powerful ones. And power doesn't come from comfort. It comes from fire. You were passed through the fire, but you didn't burn. You were shaken, but you didn't fall apart. That's not survival. That's transformation. And now you are ready, not just to receive, but to sustain what's about to be given. The energy around this Friday is sharp. It cuts through noise, through distractions, through lingering fog. You may feel unusually awake, aware, and restless leading up to it. That's because your spirit already knows it's coming. The human body feels things late, but the spirit feels them early. That internal tension, that surge of inner anticipation, that's not anxiety. That's recognition. You are sensing the shift in the unseen before it becomes undeniable in the seen. Trust it. Because what you're feeling isn't just emotion. It's alignment. It's a whisper from the divine telling you, brace yourself. You're about to meet the moment that was made for you. You were never meant to be ordinary. Look at how you think. Look at what you've survived. Look at the depth of your vision and the unusual pattern of your life. You've always been set apart, even when you didn't ask to be. You've always known too much, felt too deeply, and heard too clearly. And that wasn't a burden. It was preparation. Because what is coming to you this Friday is not for someone who needs to be convinced. It's for someone who has been ready, someone who has waited in silence, someone who has cried without letting others see, someone who has prayed and seen no answer until now. This Friday holds a sound only the chosen can hear. It carries a vibration that resonates with what has been buried in you for years. It's the kind of moment that doesn't just change direction, it changes the entire dimension of your journey. A new door, yes, but also a new vision, a new strength, and a new level of clarity. God has not forgotten you. You have not been left behind. The detour was real, but so is the destination. And this Friday is the map unfolding, the route finally appearing, the timing locking into place. And when God sets the time, nothing can delay what is meant for you. There is a stillness that falls before a divine event, a kind of sacred silence. And right now, you're standing inside that stillness. It's not emptiness. It's the quiet chamber where greatness begins to echo. The day before destiny always feels like a whisper, a hush, because the moment that's coming isn't loud by human design. It's powerful by divine decree. Friday is the opening of something too precise to be accidental. It's been prepared for years. It's been sealed until the appointed time. And now the seal is breaking. The time has arrived. You are being handed access, not to randomness, but to a reality that's been waiting for you to grow into it. You are not late. You are on time for something eternal. This Friday is a threshold. The moment when the ground beneath your spiritual feet shifts from resistance to release. You've been walking through invisible battles, situations where nothing made sense, prayers that seemed to hit a ceiling, people who walked away when you needed them most, delays that felt like denials. But Friday doesn't come to repeat that cycle. It comes to close it. This is the moment where the test turns into testimony, where what you carried secretly is acknowledged openly, where the cost becomes visible in the form of favor. God does not forget what He watched you endure. He stores it, multiplies it, and returns it when the time is right. And now, the right time has a name. It's called Friday. The events you couldn't control were not meant to be controlled. They were meant to reveal how little you needed to force anything. You were never meant to win by manipulation, by performance, by human approval. You were meant to win by divine orchestration. And that's exactly what is happening. Friday is not the result of your effort alone. It is the result of obedience. The quiet obedience that no one applauded. The silent strength that no one celebrated. But heaven saw it. God saw it. And heaven rewards what man overlooks. That's why this Friday won't look like what others expect. It will look like the kind of miracle that has your fingerprint all over it, because it's tailor-made for your journey. Have you noticed how the days feel different now? How your mind isn't just thinking randomly, but suddenly organizing clarity. That's the early arrival of prophetic timing. That's how it begins. Subtle shifts in your awareness. You don't have to chase proof. When God schedules something, even the air around you changes. Conversations start aligning. Old patterns feel foreign. People begin behaving differently. Paths appear that were never visible before. All of that is happening right now, and it's leading straight into Friday. You're not stumbling into this moment. You're being drawn by something divine. The pieces aren't just falling into place. They're being placed by the hand of God. For a long time, you had to carry potential without confirmation. You had to keep going without applause. You had to believe without results. That was not punishment. That was preservation. If everything had arrived too early, it would have been misused or misunderstood. God had to protect what you didn't yet know how to hold. He had to wait until the internal version of you matched the vision you prayed for. And now it does. The match is made. The alignment is complete. Friday is the arrival of external evidence that confirms what you've known internally all along. It's finally happening. You didn't imagine it. You didn't exaggerate it. You were sensing something real, something sacred. This Friday will make sense of things that didn't make sense before. Pain that once looked pointless will be seen as precision. The delay that once broke your heart will now look like divine mercy. And the silence? It wasn't rejection. It was the sacred space where your future was being rearranged. God wasn't punishing you by keeping things quiet. He was protecting the volume of your breakthrough. Because when this kind of moment arrives, it doesn't need to scream. It simply appears, undeniable and full of purpose. Friday is a manifestation. And manifestation doesn't need explanation. It only needs recognition. The feeling that something massive is coming, it's not just intuition. It's prophecy unfolding. That vibration in your spirit, it's not fantasy, it's foresight. You are sensing what's already written. Your soul has touched what your eyes haven't seen yet. That's the power of being chosen. You don't need outside validation to know the moment has come. The confirmation is in your bones. The truth is in your breath. And Friday is when the internal knowing meets the external showing. Your spirit saw this long before your calendar caught up. That's why you feel an ache that you can't describe. It's the ache of nearing the edge of everything you've waited for. There will be a moment this Friday when time slows, when everything feels unusually aligned. That's not your imagination, it's divine synchronization. It's God stepping into the timeline of your life in a visible, undeniable way. You'll know it when it happens. There will be no fear in that moment, only deep clarity, a breath of knowing, a shift in how your reality behaves. The rules that once applied to your life will no longer apply. What used to take years will begin happening in hours. What once seemed unreachable will now feel inevitable. You won't have to force it. You'll just have to notice it. And once you notice it, everything will accelerate. Not everyone will understand what Friday means for you. That's okay. This wasn't meant to be a group revelation. This was a personal promise. And when God makes something personal, He also makes it powerful. You won't have to explain it. The fruit will speak for itself. The evidence will silence every doubt. You won't need to defend your story. Your story will reveal itself in the form of what begins to unfold. What was once invisible will now become tangible. What was once just a dream will become your daily reality. And what once felt like delay will now be seen as divine protection. Because this Friday wasn't late. It was right on time. Chosen one, what is coming for you on Friday was never meant to be rushed. It was never designed to arrive just because you were desperate for it. It was designed to arrive when your spirit had matured to a level that could fully hold, honor, and sustain it. You were not overlooked. You were not forgotten. You were being refined for the very thing you were asking for. And now that refinement is reaching its conclusion. What felt like a long night is turning into morning. The pressure wasn't punishment. It was precision. It formed your soul into the exact shape that could carry this blessing. Friday is not just the release of something into your hands. It's the recognition of who you've become. You will realize that Friday is not an ending. It is the activation of a new identity. This moment will reveal what you've been growing into. You may have thought you were just holding on, just barely surviving. But in truth, you've been evolving. You've been stepping into a deeper version of yourself. You've been guided, molded, and positioned by God in ways you didn't fully understand. Until now. Friday will unlock that understanding. It will show you why you had to lose what you lost, why certain doors were closed, why the path was so strange, and why nothing ordinary ever seemed to work for you, because your life was never meant to be ordinary. It was destined to be divine. This Friday will not feel like just another day on the calendar. It will feel like a thin space where heaven breathes on earth, and your life feels lighter, clearer, and sharper. The burdens you've carried won't feel so heavy. The thoughts that clouded your mind will begin to part like fog breaking under the morning sun. You will begin to feel like yourself again, not the worn-out version, but the version that was always waiting for the right moment to rise. That moment is now. Friday is your rising. It's the quiet announcement to your soul that everything you've hoped for, cried for, and waited for is not just near, it is here. And here's the miracle. This Friday wasn't just chosen by God. It was reserved for you. It was set aside on the spiritual schedule before you even knew how to name what you wanted. That's why nothing else felt right. That's why you couldn't settle. That's why no substitute ever satisfied you. Because your spirit was tuned to a very specific frequency, and that frequency matches the vibration of this Friday. This day carries a signal that your soul recognizes, a rhythm that your heart has waited to dance to. And once it begins, nothing will be able to stop the unfolding of what has been divinely preserved for this time. You may feel emotional leading up to it. Don't fight it. Those emotions are not weakness. They are preparation. Your system is being cleared out. Your heart is making room. You are being stretched so that the fullness of this moment can fit inside your life. Tears may come, and so may memories. You might feel a wave of sadness mixed with anticipation. That is normal when something sacred is approaching. You're not breaking down, you're breaking open. And once Friday arrives, you will see why all those internal shifts were happening. You will understand why your energy had to shift, your circle had to change, and your mind had to release the old narratives. You couldn't carry old wounds into a new moment. That's why the healing felt intense. It was urgent. Friday brings alignment so deep that it rewrites how you see the past. You'll no longer look at certain chapters with regret. Instead, you'll see them as divine ingredients, necessary scenes in the unfolding of your sacred script. You'll understand, that even the waiting had a voice. Even the stillness was teaching you. And now, with this wisdom, you are ready to walk through the door that opens on Friday. Not with fear, but with reverence. Not with doubt, but with knowing you will not need to be convinced. Everything in your spirit will already know. This is the day things change. There is something holy about divine timing. It doesn't ask for your approval. It doesn't explain itself. It just appears when it's ready, and it carries with it a force that cannot be delayed or stopped. This Friday carries that force. It is unstoppable. What it begins in your life will not fade. It will not stall. It will not reverse. Because it isn't rooted in human decision. It's rooted in God's intention. And when God decides it is time, nothing on earth or in the spiritual realm can block it. That's what you're walking into. You're not just stepping into a new season, you're stepping into an irreversible blessing, a shift that cannot be undone. You may feel like you've been stretched to your limit, and that's because you have. But that was never a sign of defeat. It was a sign of readiness. The tension was the final test. It was your soul's way of saying, I've grown beyond this level. And when you've outgrown a season, the atmosphere becomes tight.